Hey everyone, welcome back to Educators Empowering Educators. I'm Morgan Vincent, and today we're tackling something near and dear to both my science and teaching sides, how biogas and circular economies can actually transform our approach to food security, starting right here in Pennsylvania. Joining me is Dr. Marcus Ellery, Chief Scientist, agri-food systems champion, and someone who truly knows what it means to bridge the world of research and the reality of farming. Dr. Ellery, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Morgan. It's always a pleasure to dig into these big questions with folks who care about teaching and the future of food.
So, before we get technical, let's set the scene. I always come back to this moment in Uganda, standing on a student-run school farm where waste wasn't seen as, waste. It was this resource they could transform. That idea connects so strongly to what you work on, Marcus. Not just growing food, but redesigning the system so nothing is wasted. Whether you're a smallholder in Africa or running a dairy in Pennsylvania. Could you lay out this big idea of the circular economy in agriculture?
Absolutely. Agriculture is linear. You take resources, make products, and whatever's left is waste, an afterthought. In a circular economy, we try to recapture everything in that chain. So manure, crop leftovers, even external food waste, they all become inputs again. It's about closing loops, recycling nutrients in the soil, creating renewable energy, making the farm more resilient and less dependent on outside fertilizers or fossil fuels. That school farm you mentioned, that's the same logic, and it works whether you're operating on 1 acre or 1,000.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny. I used to think of waste management as sort of the dusty back end of farming. But the more I see projects, the more I realize it really sits at the center of food security and climate resilience. It's global and local all at once.
Exactly, and we're lucky Pennsylvania's dairy sector is leaning in here, especially with biogas systems. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Where should we go next?
Let's get practical for the teachers in the room. How does anaerobic digestion, the process at the heart of these biogas systems, actually work? Walk me through a way that U.S. newcomers could understand and share in class.
All right, picture a giant stomach for microbes. That's honestly the most accurate analogy. You toss in manure and sometimes food waste from the farm. It all goes into a big sealed tank known as the digester. Microbes there don't need oxygen, so they go to work breaking down all the organic matter. First, they kind of liquefy everything. Then another team of bacteria produces acids, and finally, special bacteria called methanogens turn those acids into biogas, which is mostly methane and carbon dioxide. That gas can power a generator or be used for heat.
So it's not just about getting rid of waste, it's creating something valuable. Can you give us a walkthrough of what happens on a real Pennsylvania farm, like Penn State's digester? How does the manure become electricity?
Sure. Take Penn State's system. They scrape manure from over 350 cows in the dairy barns, then run it through a sand separator. All that separated sand gets recycled for bedding. The liquid manure goes into the digester, sometimes mixed with swine manure too. Inside the digester, the microbes work at about 95 degrees Fahrenheit, churning away for about 23 days in Penn State's setup. The resulting biogas gets piped over to a combined heat and power plant, which both generates electricity for the dairy complex and heats the digester to keep things running. Any leftover digestate, all those rich nutrients, gets spread on fields as fertilizer.
And that biogas isn't just a trickle, right? The Penn State setup produces enough to power the entire dairy operation, plus supply energy back to the grid at times.
That's right. And systems like Rhineford Farms, which we'll talk about soon, take it another step by integrating food waste as well. It's a closed loop, but it's also an open door to new income streams and massive climate wins.
Let's talk actual numbers and impact, and look at a larger scale project. You've been part of the Waste to Worth case study on a Pennsylvania dairy farm, a real working operation with over 1,000 cows, right? What makes it an example of the circular economy in action?
Absolutely. This farm co-digests manure from over 1,000 dairy cows with off-farm food waste. Think waste from the local community. things like expired milk, fruit and veggie scraps, and even dog food. Roughly 66% of the biogas they produce comes from this food waste, and that highlights just how much waste from outside the farm can become a key energy source. They meet nearly all their fertilizer needs by recycling digestate right back to the fields and still export surplus electricity to the local grid. During economic uncertainties or even weather shocks, that energy independence is a huge resilience factor.
And just to clarify, by bringing in off-farm food waste, they're actually helping reduce what might otherwise be landfill methane emissions, while boosting the on-farm nutrient supply.
Exactly. Food waste that would have ended up rotting in a landfill, releasing greenhouse gases, gets turned into power, fertilizer, and soil carbon. A third of the nitrogen in the digestate comes from off-farm waste. They're basically converting external problems into internal solutions.
And during a time when fertilizer costs are unpredictable, using recycled nutrients is a stabilizer for budgets too, right?
Totally. They're meeting about 78% of their nitrogen requirements from in-house sources, meaning less spending on pricey synthetic fertilizers. Plus, they actually use their own bedding made from digested solids, driving costs even lower.
And now I want to dive in further on those nutrients for a second. There's a lot of optimism about digestate as a soil amendment, reducing pollution and costs. But managing those nutrients, specifically the nitrogen and phosphorus, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, is it?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Digestate is rich in plant-available nutrients, mostly ammonium, nitrogen, and phosphorus, so you reduce your need for synthetic fertilizer. So that's great for water quality. The less runoff, the less risk to watersheds like the Susquehanna River, for example. But in a system like our Pennsylvania case study, phosphorus in particular can build up over time. Too much, and you risk pollution through runoff or leaching, especially as soils reaches phosphorus saturation.
So what can farms do to manage that responsibly?
Injecting digestate into the soil instead of spraying it on the surface is one best practice. Less ammonia lost to the air, more roots getting the nutrients. Pair that with no-till farming and stream setbacks for fertilizer application, and you're stacking wins. Our case study farm is even participating in a digestate injection trial right now, looking to maximize nitrogen retention and minimize environmental impact. But honestly, no matter what the farm is doing, ongoing monitoring is crucial. If excess nutrients start to build up, it could be an opportunity for farms to process and sell their surplus digestate as commercial fertilizer, for example.
That's a real systems thinking approach, not just closing the loop, but tweaking the loop along the way. Now I want to zoom out a bit, because this isn't just about one farm. When you start scaling biogas across Pennsylvania's dairies and bring in food waste and crop residues, what does that mean for the state's energy future?
So our modeling shows that if you combined manure, food waste, and crop byproducts statewide, Pennsylvania could offset about 3% of its total electricity use with biogas systems, which is roughly 3,300 gigawatt hours a year. That's a serious chunk of renewable energy. Plus, most farms would cover all their own on-site electricity and heat needs, and potentially have surplus to sell back to the local grid.
And it's not just about energy, right? It's resilience. When energy prices spike, these farms will feel less pain. And you've mentioned before the positive impact on rural economies.
Right. Biogas systems can create and keep energy dollars local and provide new revenue streams like food waste tipping fees and carbon credits. It all adds up to stronger communities, not just cleaner power.
Let's bring this home for our educator audience. If you're a teacher, where does this circular economy meets biogas story fit in your classroom? What are some realistic entry points, Dr. Ellery?
First off, this connects across disciplines: science, agriculture, social studies. In science, you can have students run classroom waste audits. The students could think about where the food waste coming from and where could it go. In agriculture classes, try building small biogas models. Think soda bottles, some food scraps, a balloon for gas collection. It's hands-on and directly relevant. For systems thinking, You can analyze nutrient flow diagrams, which shows how carbon, nitrogen, energy, and water move through the farm.
In my experience, field trips are a goldmine too. Seeing digesters at places like Penn State or Rhineford farms, students can connect the abstract ideas to real-world practices, and using local case studies makes the science feel less distant in theory and more practical. This is what your neighbors are doing. If you want inspiration and practical examples, these are tailor-made for student-driven inquiry and even project-based learning. Let's close by looking ahead. What are the real roadblocks for farmers or communities who want to build biogas systems? And what new innovations should we have on our radar?
The biggest barriers right now are economic and technical. Biogas systems are expensive and they work best for larger farms. There's a need for financing, strong policy support, and skilled operators. Smaller dairies in Pennsylvania need more affordable options. But we're seeing exciting innovations. Co-digesting multiple feedstocks like crop residues and food waste, upgrading raw biogas into renewable natural gas that can be sold on the grid, and new digester types like fixed film systems that reduce size and costs. Policy incentives, workforce training, and collaborative models are going to be critical for scaling and making these systems more equitable.
So, we should not see circular farming and biogas as exceptions or experiments, but as the new rule. We need all hands, classroom, farm, and lab, to make this the norm. Marcus, any final words for our educators before we wrap up?
Just this. Every classroom visit, every student project, every farm that tries something new, it all adds up. Biogas and circular farming aren't silver bullets, but they're powerful tools. If you're listening, you're already part of creating that future. Keep asking questions, stay curious, keep building those bridges between science and real life.
Perfect place to end. Dr. Ellery, it's always a joy. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and honestly, for making the science feel hopeful. All right, that's it for today, folks. We'll see you next time on Educators Empowering Educators. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Morgan. Take care, everyone.